watching and listening to Conscious Evolution Media, shifting global consciousness at consciousevolutionmedia.com.
Today's podcast is brought to you by Kids Talk Foundation, a global nonprofit organization providing youth advocacy, television programming, and training services in the United States, along with comprehensive medical and educational services for the developing world, most recently in Kenya, Africa, where Kids Talk Foundation provides a feeding program, medical care, and educational services to over 1,300 young people each day. Please help our youth and place your donation. Go to www.kidstalk.org. Are you in the entertainment industry? If you answered yes and you want to promote yourself, your passion, and profession, check out Creative Independent Artist magazines at CIAartists.com, endorsed by Kids Talk Foundation worldwide. You can hear shows from Real Coaching Radio TV network while on the go with Stitcher Smart Radio. Stitcher is a free news and talk mobile app available for your smartphones, smart TVs, and cars. And when you download Stitcher to hear shows from Real Coaching Radio TV network, you have a chance to win some money. Downloading is quick and easy. Just find Stitcher in the App Store. Download it. It's free and just takes a few seconds. Then, during registration, hit the promo code box and enter RCRN to get automatically entered to win $100. The latest episode of the shows will be waiting for you in your favorites. You'll get access to lots of other amazing shows too. Always available to you on demand. No syncing. It's Stitcher Smart Radio. Don't forget to enter promo code RCRN when you register at www.stitcher.com/RCRN.
Well, hello again. Welcome to Your Money and Your Mindset. And I'm your host, Lo Tan. And as you know, each week we're going to talk about the stuff that's going to make you healthier, wealthier, wiser, and the like. So this is Your Money and Your Mindset. And I'd like to say hello to all you people out there on Stick'em, Blog TV, Real Coaching Radio TV, Roku, and also the people who are watching the show on Stitcher on your smartphone. Very smart. Right, what are we looking at now? Today, we're looking at, first of all, look at your calendar. What does it say? We are looking at the last week of January 2013. Time flies, doesn't it, folks? So let me ask you, have the New Year's resolutions you made at 1 minute past midnight on the 1st of January fizzled out like flat champagne? Are you back to square one in terms of being comfortable in that rut again, where there is no change from what happened last year, even though you've said, I want a new start, I want to have new goals, etc. Look, don't beat yourself out, don't feel guilty, but have pen and paper handy. This is going to help, okay? Practical advice we're going to get going at. So we're going to look at how you can salvage, resuscitate, and re-energize your commitment to all those major goals you made at the start of 2013. And I've got my special returning guest, Stephanie Kakris, who's the founder of High Performance Club and a goal-setting expert, and she gets results for her clients, okay? So listen up. Now, first of all, we're going to talk about the bad bit, as in the common mistakes people will make when they're setting goals. And the good news is she's going to tell us how you can fix it, how you can amend it, okay? So here you go. So this is Real Coaching Radio, hey? So we've got the Stick'em people, Blog TV, Conscious Evolution Media, Receive Net Radio, Radio Roku, New Media Radio and TV, Stitcher. Okay, you guys out there, pay attention. It's going to be a great show today. So welcome, Stephanie Kakris. How are you?
Good morning. I'm great, thanks. How are you?
Very well, very well. And we are all set to go. Like I said to the good folk out there, January is basically kind of over, right? And before you know it, people are going to go back doing the same things that they've done. And there's a saying, if you keep doing the same things, you keep getting the same results. And I know you actually specialize in getting people out of that, I guess, mindset to start with, but also you incorporate into their lives things, the actual practical actions they need to take to be able to have a brand new life and do what they wanted to do in the first place, which is have fantastic goals that are achievable and are doable. So take us, through the whole process.
Well, the most common mistakes that I see that people make when they're setting their New Year's intentions, and the start of the year is such a great time for us to have a look at where we left off from the previous year and where we want to head for the current year. And I myself, I just want to confess that before one of the reasons why I'm a goal setting and a law of attraction expert is because I hated setting goals. I was a very, very reluctant goal setter. And I've realized in the last couple of years that the reason why that was because I was too scared to ask for what I wanted. And because I was fearful of getting disappointed, and also, to a certain extent, not feeling worthy of having everything, having it all. Who am I to have it all? Who am I to have, to ask for things? And, one of the things that I see that people, most people aren't specific enough about asking for what they want. So they have very vague general goals like, okay, well, in 2013, I'm going to eat healthier. That's the common one. Or I want to lose weight. It's like, well, what does eat healthier actually look like? Does that mean that you're going to eat takeaway less than 2 times a week? Does it mean that you're going to eat takeaway less than 2 times a month? Does it mean that you're going to eat 5 pieces of fruit a day? So, when you get down to the nitty gritty, it's like when I ask people, okay, well, what are your goals for this year? And they say it, I say, well, what does that actually mean? So what does eat healthier actually mean? What does exercise more actually mean? Does it mean 30 minutes exercise a day, at least 5 days a week? Does it mean an hour exercise a day, 6 days a week, or 3 days a week, or whatever it means for you? And I think that people expect themselves to have lifelong habits that they've been doing. They want them to change. We want things, we live in a society of immediate gratification, and we want things to change and change quickly. So often, we talk about the whole New Year's resolution thing where it's just, fizzles out after a couple of weeks. And the reason is that we get impatient with ourselves because we want them to change and we want it to be easy. So I have some, one of the main things that you need in order to change, in order to achieve the goals that you set is A, be specific about them, but B, you need to have persistence and you need to have determination.
Oh, those are big words. Big words, persistence and determination. And what I've heard you say beforehand is that you're asking people to be very specific in their goals. And some people, can I just say, don't want to be pinned down to those specifics because, like you say, they might not achieve them.
Yeah.
And then they'll have to live with that for the rest of the year, that says, I'm still a fatty or something like that. When in fact they have made progress, but not to the extent that they envisage in their head. They want to end up looking at Elle Macpherson in 24 hours or something.
Yeah. And wouldn't we like that?
Not bad.
The thing, with some of the bigger goals, the plan along the way might not necessarily be clear yet. So, but you still need to be specific about the direction. When we're planning a holiday, we're specific about our destination and we know how we're going to get there, mostly. There's not many people who will just go to the airport and say, look at the board and say, I wonder where I might go on my holiday today. And Jim Rohn has a fantastic quote saying that it fascinates him that most people plan their holidays better than they plan their lives. So if we look at 12 months ahead, it's like, well, where do you want to be in 12 months' time? Where do you want to be in 12 months from now? What do you want to have achieved in the 12 months? And sometimes how that's going to happen, it doesn't become clear until you start putting the intention out there and asking the universe to show you the way. So for me, in terms of weight loss, because I think weight loss is a great example because I think it's a very common one that people find frustrating. So for me in 2013, I want to lose 5 kilos. Now, I need to increase my exercise intensity a little, but there's not a lot that I feel like I need to do in terms of my healthy eating choices is pretty good. I do need to increase my exercise intensity a little and perhaps exercise maybe 5 or 6 days a week instead of 3 or 4 on a regular basis. But I believe that setting the intention and believing that it's going to happen and sitting with that belief and what's it going to be like for me to be those 5 kilos lighter, what clothes am I going to buy, and connect with what's it going to be like for me then. To me, that's a big part of achieving the goal, and that it will happen reasonably easily. Of course, you have to put in the work, but everything in life doesn't have to be a massive struggle. And I think that when we look at change and when we look at doing things differently, we are scared that it's going to be a massive struggle. And so something that I encourage my clients to do is say, well, how can you do it as easily and gracefully as possible?
Okay, so that's the first thing, is it that people take too big a chunk of a goal and then don't look at the finished, they don't see themselves at the finish line, and they don't feel as though they are there. Because I think one of the things that your subconscious is renowned for, is the fact that it can't tell the difference between the past, present, and future. All it knows is now. And it's basically persuading your subconscious that you've already got it now.
Exactly. So it's if you close your eyes, I use a really good example about the subconscious not knowing the difference between the past, present, and the future. If you close your eyes now and you imagine a very frightening situation, and that will be different for everyone. So let's say you close your eyes, imagine yourself in the bush, and a snake comes up to you. Or you imagine yourself, public speaking is one of the most common fears. So you imagine yourself in front of an audience of 200 people and you're standing up on stage. Well, you start to feel the physiological effects of that imagined event as if it was happening now. And it's no different. That one of the keys to achieving your goals is closing your eyes and imagining that you're already that person that is, has that dream job that you want, or is earning the kind of income that you want. How would you dress? How would you go about your day if you were a millionaire? And all the experts say to do that well, to as much as you can, to live as if, and then things will just fall into place. Obviously the other key is to take action. And one of the downsides, I believe, of The Secret movie, which was obviously very popular, was that it kind of implied that if you wish hard enough, it will just happen without you doing anything. And that's actually not the case. And I think we all know that. I think we all would like it to be the case, where we just close our eyes, and if we wish long enough and hard enough, that it will just fall into our laps. But what you move towards moves towards you. So if you're on a regular basis moving towards what it is that you want, then the other things will come. Your goals will actually move towards you. That are somewhere out there in the ether. But the first step, you need to be really specific about what you want, and that can be a hurdle for a lot of people in itself. So if you're not someone, and there might be a lot of people out there listening to this saying, yeah, but what if I don't know what I want? And my argument to people who say, what if I don't know what I want, is actually you do know what you want. You're just not allowing yourself to admit it. So, most people want more material, like different material possessions. So a better car, a bigger home, bigger backyard, a better job, more money, whatever it is, more happiness, a better relationship. It's not really, you don't really have to look too far. Most people don't have to look too far to say what it is that they want. It's just that, like I used to be, they're too scared to ask for it. They feel the fear in asking for it, that they'll be disappointed. And why can't I just be happy with what I've got, is another common question that people ask. And I say, you do need to be happy with what you want. That's a really big key in moving towards your growth and getting more and going further with your life, is The first step is be clear where you are right now is exactly where you're meant to be. Now, there are no accidents, and if you've had a lot of challenges in your life, a lot of people found 2012 very difficult, especially financially, but also I know, relationships and emotional turmoil and all sorts of things. There was a lot of upheaval in 2012. You need to leave that behind and say to yourself, well, how did I learn from that? And now let's leave that behind and let's say, okay, well, how was 2013? How do I want 2013 to be different for me?
That's a biggie. So first of all, it's a case of, like you said, people not allowing themselves to dream big, yeah?
Yeah, exactly.
All right. What is the antidote for that? When I'll play the devil's advocate now. I'm taking up your advice, and I'm going to do the thing where I envisage and imagine myself already in possession of what I want in my goal. I'm clear about it. But then a little voice comes and says, who are you kidding?
Mm-hmm.
So what is your comeback for that?
Well, the first thing that I say to people when they say that is, whose voice is that? Because it's generally someone else's voice. It's actually generally not their own. So sometimes it's their own voice, but it's actually someone else's voice. It's someone else's voice that they've grown up with or that they've heard in the past. So the first thing that you need to do is you need to just say that voice is really something that was from the past, a belief system that I've had and carried with me for a long time, and that doesn't serve me. So when I say to myself, who am I to speak to 500 people about the law of attraction? Who am I to do that? And my answer is, actually, who am I not to? And I've got this, you probably can't read it, but I've got this Marianne Williamson poem behind me, which says, we're all a child of God, and we're all special. And so when the little voice inside my head says, well, who are you, Stephanie Kakris, to, write a book and to advise people or to coach people or whatever? And then the little voice inside my head straight away says, well, who am I not to? Who am I not to? Who says that I shouldn't be or that I can't? And for me, it's a really nice way of reframing it. Another, in terms of the mistakes that people made when setting their New Year's intentions, and in terms of that little voice inside our head that's not necessarily our own voice, but that, is a voice that was put there by someone else. As a newborn, we aren't born with self-doubts. We aren't born with feelings of unworthiness. We learn those during our lives, and we can unlearn them. So one of the big mistakes that people make about dreaming, allowing themselves to dream big and set New Year's intentions and all that, is that they share them with people who are going to be dream stealers. So I'm sure that you all our listeners know what I'm talking about when you say, hey, you know what? This year I'm going to lose 10 kilos. And what do they say? What's their response in reply?
Fat chance.
Fat chance. Good one. That's what you said last year, and that's what you said the year before, and it hasn't happened then. So what makes you think it's going to happen this time? And then for me, when someone says that, I just say, well, yeah, actually, you know what, they're right, and maybe I shouldn't even bother trying because I'm just going to fail again. So one of the tips that I say to people about achieving your goals is that you need to find a group of people who are going to be supportive of your goal. And if you don't have anyone, hop onto my Facebook group, which I've called Masters of Manifesting, and share your goals and intentions with us because we'll support you in them. So that's something.
That's a very important point you've raised, that not everyone is out there who's going to look out for your interest and support that. So you people out there, Stick and World TV and Conscious Evolution Media, anybody watching the show at the moment, just pause for a moment and think of the people in your lives who are either supportive, or some of them who appear supportive but can actually plant seeds of doubt when they might not say completely flat out that no, you can't do it, but they'll question you, they'll challenge you, and ever so often bring it up in subtle ways that can be perceived as undermining. Isn't that right? They can be very much a case of, yeah, we support you, but there's always the but, yeah?
So it's
So you're
really,
saying, sorry, go ahead.
research shows that you're much more likely to achieve your goal if you do share it with supportive people. So it is important for you to share your goals, but be careful about who you choose. And really that's just a matter of learning as you go. So if you share it with someone who you think is going to be supportive and they just cut you down, or they subtly say, well, you know, how are you going to do that? Or, you know, I don't think that's going to work, or whatever it is, then you might, if they're a really good friend, then you might say to them, hey, you know what, I'm going to leave all that behind me and I really want to give this a go and I'd really appreciate your support here. And then, you know, I'm sure that someone will turn it around and say, well, you know, I just, you know, people do that. You know, it sounds like people are being really negative, but actually most people to say, I'm not sure if you're going to be able to do that, they actually think that they're being caring, because they're trying to protect you against that failure thing that we all try and avoid. And it's one of the reasons why people don't set goals in the first place, is because, well, what if I don't get there? It's just going to be evidence that I'm a failure. So if you're feeling that, if you guys are feeling that out there, if you're feeling like you're too scared to set big dreams, big goals, change your habits, what if I fail? Then I recommend that you start by really small steps at a time, and to keep a journal beside your bed, a little exercise book or a little notepad, and every single night before you go to bed, just write down 1 or 2 things that you did that day that you were proud of for yourself. Now this book's not to show anyone else. Okay, so for you, you might be really proud that you skipped one cup of coffee that day, that you only had 3 instead of 4. And for you, and most people, they would say, oh, that's ridiculous, 3 instead of 4, yeah, big deal. But for you, that was a big deal. So you know in your own heart what was a big deal, and you write that down. You write down if you gave someone a compliment, if you had a difficult conversation at work or with your family that you needed to have. Whatever it is, from the small to the large, just write down 2 things every day in your notebook before you go to sleep, and then you can go to sleep with that positive energy that, hey, you know what, I've got something that I can be proud of myself today. It doesn't matter how big or small. I'm proud of myself. I know that I'm working towards being, you know, a better future for myself. And then you've been doing that for some weeks, you actually end up with this, you know, nice big book of evidence. It's like concrete evidence that, yes, you can make small steps. You can be proud of yourself. You can achieve what you want to achieve.
Yeah, I think Jack Canfield calls it an evidence log, where you're just putting credits in the bank account in terms of what I'm hearing is it's more to do with building up a person's own sense of self-esteem and self-worth, isn't it?
Well, it's changing your belief system around from, I can't improve my life, I can't achieve anything, I can't change my habits, to I can do this, I can change my habits. So it is definitely feeding self-worth, but it's not just feeding your self-worth, it's actually concrete evidence that you can make some changes. And, you know, we're so quick to criticize ourselves. We're so quick when we go to bed at night to think of all the things that we didn't do that day. So I'm suggesting that instead of listing all the things when we go to bed at night that we didn't do that day and that we were disappointed in ourselves with, let's look and find the things that we did do today that we're proud of, and change the whole mindset around about, yeah, okay, well, let's look for the things today that I'm proud of and find them.
All right, on that note about going to bed with a very positive mindset about ourselves, I want your thoughts on this particular scenario. Personally, I don't believe in watching the news before going to bed, because that's one way of really being a total absolute downer, and it feeds the negativity, and it just puts the rest of the night and the next day in a very bad light. It's almost like, what's the point, what's the use? You know, we're all going to hell in a handbasket kind of thing, when it's not true. So what do you suggest to people that they read or think about or contemplate before bedtime?
For me, you know, part of my changing my subconscious programs has been about surrounding myself as much as possible with people who send the messages of, you can do it. So for everyone, that those people are going to be different. But every night as I'm falling asleep, I put on a vortex of attraction meditation, which I have as an app on my iPhone, and I turn it right down really low so I can barely hear it. It's just kind of playing there next to my bed as I fall asleep, and I really enjoy having that in my mind as I go to sleep. Absolutely encourage people to turn the television off at least half an hour before your bedtime and pick up a book, or, you know, if you're not a big reader, then there's some fantastic, you know, there are audio books on iTunes, and not everyone knows about audio books, but most books that, you know, most of the popular books that you can buy from Amazon, you can also get as an audio book on iTunes. So I would highly recommend that you get those, and you go to bed and you sit up in your bed, or you sit up in the lounge room, or when you're doing the dishes, or when you're doing chores or whatever, or when you're doing exercise. I mean, my favourite time for listening to my audio programs is when I'm walking. And I've just finished listening to Joe Vitale's The Attractor Factor while I'm walking. That's a fantastic one, and his other book is called Zero Limits, that I would highly recommend that people listen to, which is really motivating, I found, about believing in miracles, believing in the possibility. The other audio book that I've purchased recently is Marianne Williamson, who wrote the poem on the thing behind. Her new book is called The Law of Divine Compensation, and I bought that as an audio book, and that's just beautiful. I love that about, and, you know, it's at the end of each chapter she's got a prayer, which you can use as an affirmation if you're not inclined to pray. It's the same energy, putting the energy out there, and believing in miracles and believing in the unexpected and the impossible. I myself have seen people set goals and have miraculous things happen, which they have no idea how it came to pass. One of the ladies last year, I was running a monthly Law of Attraction vision boarding group, and one of the ladies really an investment property in Queensland, which is our equivalent of Florida, the Sunshine State, and she really, it was just something that she really wanted to do, but she had no spare funds to do it. She believed in the possibility. She didn't know how she was going to pay for it. She didn't know where it was going to be. She just believed in the possibility. So she went with her daughter, and she went for a trip to Queensland, and in the area where she was thinking, she had a drive around, and she saw a new estate, and she thought, okay, this is where I want to buy one of these newer homes, smaller homes in this new estate, so that I can rent it out. And she stopped and had coffee in a cafe, and she ran into a man. They just started having a conversation, and he was an accountant, and he was just asking her what was she doing in Queensland, chat. And he was saying, do you have any superannuation money? Which is, in Australia, we have compulsory 10% of your earnings goes into your superannuation for when you retire. And she said, yeah, I have superannuation money. And he said, well, are you aware that you could buy the investment property, use the deposit from your superannuation to buy it? And she said, no, I had no idea. And so it was like, she came home and she saw me again, and she was just shaking her head saying, I cannot believe that I randomly ran into this man who happened to be an accountant, and we were chatting. Said to me, you can use your super money, and I had never considered that. I didn't even know it was possible that you could use it to buy an investment property for the deposit. And it's all out. A month later, she had the keys.
Wow, so, okay. It works.
Idea how it was going to happen. So, you know, miracles like that are happening all the time.
Right.
Yeah.
So you actually teach people in your course that you've run now on, funnily enough, and I think it is a great time to do it, a New Year's Eve, isn't it? A 2-day workshop where you actually get people to focus on their goal and to get them over the line. So can you tell us some success stories from those people who attended your workshop?
Well, I mean, they range from the small to the large, and I'll just share with you a small story for people who are just thinking, oh, I don't know about the large stuff. Let's just start small. A gentleman and his wife have an investment property that they were renting out, and they wanted to put the rent up for 2013 by $10 a week. And before the personal blueprint to success workshop, where we did our goals and our vision boards for the year, the tenant had already indicated to the real estate agent that they were not going to pay the extra $10 a week in rent, and that they were prepared to move out of the property. So my client set the goal as if it had already happened. So the key with using the law of attraction is that you say, you know, it is the 31st of January 2013 and the tenant has agreed to the $10 a week increase and they were happy to do it. And they'd already, remember, before the thing, they'd already said to the agent that they weren't. And they said they were prepared to move out. That was not negotiable. Well, the agent rang my client and said, I don't know what's just happened and I can't explain it, but the tenant has just rang me and said that he's going to agree to the $10 a week increase. Just like that. And my client's just gone, are you serious? And the landlord's going, yeah, I don't know. They were so clear before Christmas that they weren't going to pay it. And he just rang me and he said, all right, he's agreed to pay it. And my client's just gone, oh my goodness, that is so cool. So the energy flow on, you know, outside of yourself to other people and to change the decisions that they make and what, you know. So I also have a friend who's having some trouble with her ex-partner threatening to stop seeing their son. And it's a horrible, nasty situation. He doesn't want to pay her any
maintenance,
whatever you call it. And he said, well, you know, either you agree to what I'm saying or I will refuse to see the son again. And she was beside herself, as you can imagine, because, you know, what's she going to say to her son? Oh, you can never see your father again because he doesn't want to give me any money. And I said to her, write down your ideal outcome for this. Write down how you would like your ex-husband to be towards you, how you would like him to be towards your son, exactly how much per month you would like him to pay, that you never need to ask him for the money. Be really specific about as many points as you can imagine, and then pray for a miracle. Just see what happens. So that's just another example. She hasn't actually done that. That's just currently happening at the moment, but that was my suggestion. So it doesn't just work for material things either. It can work for any kind of a situation. Imagine as if it's already happened. Connect to it. Be as specific as you can. Feel the feeling. And I think one of the biggest powers of the law of attraction is feel the feeling inside you about when you're going to achieve this goal. And, you know, one of the biggest mistakes that we make is we make goals according to what we imagine other people want for us, or what you know, the person that we think we should be, so to speak, in inverted commas. And if you set a big goal and it doesn't give you butterflies in your stomach and it doesn't make your heart race and it doesn't give you that feeling which is raising your vibration, then it's probably not, you're not going to get there. You're not going to have that persistence and determination to get there. So, you know, people who say to me, look, I really, really want to finish my university degree, but I'm just finding that I'm not motivated to study, I'm not doing this, I'm not doing that, then it's a good time that if you find yourself not taking regular action towards your goal, not feeling inspired by the goal, then you really need to look at, well, who's this goal actually for? Is it actually really for me, or is it actually because I feel like society wants, you know, in general, I should be getting a university degree, or I should be a certain weight, or whatever. And, you know, not to say throw it all in, but let's just look at, well, how can I turn this around and say, well, I'm doing this for me, and how is this going to impact on my own personal future?
Okay, now some people don't want to go there because that means they might have to look at the fact that they are doing a certain university course, let's go with that, simply because their parents expect them to turn out as doctors and lawyers, right? And all they want to do is sit on a beach or surf, and that would just cause major, you know, heartburn in the family if they turned up one day and said, Mum and Dad, guess what? I'm chucking in the uni studies and I just want to go to Bali and surf. Now, what would you say in a situation like that to a person who says, I don't have that, I don't feel the desire to get up in the morning and drag my bum down to lectures, to listen to, you know, boring anatomy lectures?
My fundamental answer to that is you need to be true to yourself. So, you know, you might bust your ass to finish a university degree and do 8 years of medicine or whatever ridiculous number of years it is. A lot of hard work and a lot of brain power. If your heart's not in it, you're not going to serve the community, the patients and all that. You're not going to be a good doctor from that point of view. And, you know, I mean, it is a difficult thing to tell your parents, well, you know what, I really, really want to pursue my dream of being an actor or a musician, when your parents are both lawyers. It's the most difficult thing that you could imagine. But you really need to stand in your own truth and say, well, what's going to feed me and what's going to give me a life full of content? Now, if you want to have a life, if you want to go to Bali and surf and, you know, just earn a minimum amount of money and you're happy doing that for the rest of your days, then, you know, it's very difficult. It's a value judgment about whether that's a right or a wrong thing for you to be doing. Because, you know, some of the most poor people in the world are the happiest. So becoming a doctor and a lawyer and having loads of money and the big house and 3 cars and, you know, a partner and 3 children or whatever it is, you know, that is a lot of people's dreams for their children. But ultimately, in actual fact, when we come down to it, it's because we think that those things are going to make our children happy. I mean, as a parent, the number one thing that all parents want for their kids is to be happy. Now, most parents, you know, there are some parents who say, well, you know, I want you to be happy and I want to be proud. Proud of you means that I want you to live by my values. Unfortunately, you know, that's not going to do it for the child. And children often come along to challenge parents' values. And so, you know, if as a parent you're finding that your child's not focused on study and all they want to do is play music or surf or whatever it is, then you need to come up with a very creative way of linking your values with theirs. So this is what Dr. John Demartini talks about. He's very big on values, and his book is called Inspired Destiny, where he talks about this. So he suggests for the parents is that you need to find as many things as you can come up with to link how achieving at school is going to help that child in his music career or in his surfing career as you can. Does that make sense? So let's just say, so then you need to say, okay, well, sit down with your child and say, okay, well, how is being good at you studying at maths and getting good grade in maths going to help your music career? And there is a lot about music that has a lot of math in it, as you very well know. So how is being able to be good at English and read and write essays going to help your music career? Well, it might help you with your poems, it might help you write your lyrics, it might help you write proposals to recording agents, all sorts of things, and link the values with, you know, your children and what it is that they ultimately want to do. And apart from that, all you can do is bless them and give them, you know, as much love and advice along the way as you can, and follow, you know, help them follow their heart and do it to the best of their ability and make money out of it. You know, just because someone wants to be an artist or a musician or a surfer doesn't mean that they're going to live a life of poverty. And so we need to examine our beliefs, and Marianne Williamson in The Law of Divine Compensation talks about, let's examine our beliefs about, you know, the struggling artist. And just because someone wants to be an actor for their lives doesn't mean that they need to be living in poverty for their lives. It doesn't mean they're all going to be multi-millionaires on Hollywood either. But, you know, there's the possibility that they could make a really good living out of it. They could teach acting. They can, you know, there are all other sorts of possibilities that they can do. So, you know, setting meaningful goals, the number one thing that you need to do is to start by being open to all possibilities. You know, our conscious mind can only allow us to see a certain amount of possibilities, and the possibilities that we see are based on our past experiences. Now, the universe sees infinite possibilities, or God sees infinite possibilities ahead of us. So you really need to write down what it is that you want, put pictures and feelings to it, and then ask the universe, okay, you're the one that sees all the possibilities here. I can only see a few, and I can't see any that are going to get me there at this stage. Please open the way, show me the possibilities. Some people love angels, love asking angels Whatever does it for you, ask for help. Don't be scared to ask for help. Ask the universe, ask God for guidance.
Okay, so that means that you're assuming that the person has some sort of spiritual connection. Is that going to work for people who just say, no, I don't believe in God, I believe we're here for our allotted time and then I'm going to be, put in the ground and turned into worm food? How do you connect with somebody like that who says that, but then they'll turn up and say, I want you to help me with me getting to my goals, hitting the marks, the milestones, key performance indicators. You ever hear people talk like that who are very matter of fact and have not any intuitive sort of leaning whatsoever?
I've never met anyone who doesn't have any intuitive leaning whatsoever, ever. I've met people who are very anti-religious, but most people, when they really dig deep and they examine, explore, recognize that we all have a spiritual connection. Whether it be to God, to the earth, to the sun, to the moon, to whatever it is, it's a different. It looks different. It's a different form, but it's the same principle of that thoughts are energy. Everything is energy, and there are plenty of books out there about having a spiritual connection to, about the laws of the universe, whatever it is. And one example that comes into mind is Joe Dispenza's work. And he's very scientific about the law of attraction and how it works. And he's a quantum physicist. And he talks about everything being energy. And really, energy and spirit are the same thing. So if you're existing, if you're alive, if the world exists, some people will question that, we all exist.
So we do. Anyway, just as an aside, we're going to say hello to the people on Blog TV. Stephanie, hi, Blog TV. Thanks for tuning in and listening and participate in the show, please, because this is getting into. I consider the meat, the meat and potatoes of this goal-setting particular topic, because as Stephanie is talking, what I'm finding is, in fact, a lot of people don't have the courage to ask for what they want, simply because courage comes from the French word cœur, which means heart. They haven't connected with their heart, and it might mean, in the case of, let's say, a person who says to their parents, I don't want to be a doctor, that's your wish for me, that's not mine, is to actually have the courage to speak up for what they want in the first place, having lived their lives under the roof of their parents who've dictated every part of their existence, and this is what you eat, what you wear, when you go to school, etc. And suddenly they because they've connected with their heart, and they do want to go and surf, because to them the simplicity of life is what they want, and that's where they find their happiness. So ultimately, courage, happiness kind of goes hand in hand. So you people out there on Blog TV, do, besides saying hi, drop in with your comments. We'd really appreciate that. So sorry, Stephanie, just keep going what you were saying.
Oh, no, that's okay. I was just talking about energy and spirit really being the same thing. And if you encourage people to read up a bit about quantum physics, and Joe Dispenza explains it beautifully about the quantum physics and how everything's actually energy, and the atoms that make up everything on the earth are such a minor part of it. So, when people read that, there's just no denying the spirit factor in everything that we do. In terms of, the child who wants to surf, I have a funny story about a family who lived in a community where they were self-sufficient. And the two parents lived on the land and lived in, I don't know if they lived in teepees or something similar. So very, very basic life here in Australia. And they loved, as a community, and they all grew their own food and hunted for themselves and lived, a very simple life. And they had two sons, and one of them grew up and became a doctor, and one of them grew up and became a lawyer. And the parents thought that they had completely failed their children because they to grow up on the land and living simple life, and it's just to turn it around, a different perspective on that most parents want their children to be the doctors and the lawyers, and often the children just want to live on the land or just go surfing or whatever.
Wow. So this is a staff way of examining or gently getting people to examine their values and what they consider to be important and a priority in their lives, and the jarring sort of this, what we call that, not synchronous sort of agreement between parents and children tends to say to you that, do you feel then that you've brought a child in so that they make their own lives and you do not hang your values on them and expect them to go by your values?
Yeah, and as parents, we want to do the best for our children, and parents who are projecting to their children, they do that because they think that's for their best, and I understand that. On the other hand, there are a lot of children who are lost as well, teenagers especially, who feel like they have no idea what they're interested in, what floats their boat, basically. And for those, I think that the whole education system can be quite restrictive in that it's geared towards setting people up for an office job, basically. It's geared towards academically minded children and teenagers. And, there's a vast proportion of us out there that aren't academically minded. And so for parents whose child may not be exceeding at school or may be terribly unhappy, it's really important to encourage them to explore different avenues of, whether it be within school or whether it be outside school, of interests to help them to find what it is that they're good at, because I believe that every single one of us has a genius inside us. It's just a matter of finding the outlet for that genius. So, if your child hasn't been, and a good example is quite a high-profile illusionist here in Australia. His name's Cosentino. He, as a child, was very withdrawn, shy, bullied at school, didn't have many friends, really, really struggled. And one day he came home and he saw a magic show that just happened to come on TV after they were watching something else. And he was fascinated, and his mum went out and bought him a book of magic tricks, and she had to read it to him initially because he couldn't read. He was about 10, and he absolutely loved it, and he became so good at it that he came out of his shell. He became a confident young person. He started making friends. He did his magic tricks at any family, anyone who would care to watch, he would do it with them, and he was really good at it. And now, as a mid-20s or an early 20-something-year-old, he's quite very high profile here in Australia. He's travelling Australia, selling out shows all over the place, extremely gifted at what he does. And I just think to myself, well, what if he had never found magic? What if he'd never, by accident, seen that show? And what if his mum didn't support him by buying him that book and helping him read it and helping him through it? So that's a really beautiful example of using that vehicle to become alive.
Supposedly quite by accident, but really not by accident. Okay, we're sort of coming up to finishing up the show in 10 minutes, and what I'd like you to do is just continue with fixing the sort of mistakes that people make when they're setting their goals. So people out there, Stickam and Blog TV, I'm hoping that you are reviving or thinking there is hope, okay, for the resolutions you made early on in the year, and then you thought, well, perhaps we'll leave it to next year because it's so far gone. It's not. There is actually strategies, workable strategies and actions you can take now in this moment to right the ship, so to speak, and point your ship in the direction that you want it to go to get to your goals. So just take us through the rest of that, if you could, Steph.
Yeah, sure. So I think what you've made a really good point about, and something that I wanted to discuss today, was about forgiving yourself, because we hold a lot of resentment towards ourselves for all the things that we haven't done in the past. And that resentment that we hold towards ourselves can continue in that kind of behaviour again and again. So you need to sit with yourself. Everyone needs to sit with themselves and say, okay, I was doing the best that I could, and now I'm going to change it around and connect with what it is that I want. Why do I want it? Feel it in my heart. What am I going to do today to have that action towards it? Now, when we change habits, we're going to slip up, okay, because we're changing our brain pathways. So habits are actually brain pathways. So a habit of getting up in the morning and having a can of Coke for breakfast is no different than a learned habit of how to drive a motor vehicle. It's a neural pathway that's been set in stone. And you at the beginning when you change, so let's just say I love the driving the car example. So if you drive a regular route to work every single day, and one day you need to drive to a friend's house, and halfway it's on the way to work, but then halfway you've got to turn off to your friend's house. Well, you get in the car and you start driving to work and you end up at work because it's just your brain is just geared to go towards work because that's the way that you go more often. Unless you actually remember at that turn off, oh, hang around, I'm going to my friend's house, and you're aware that you need to turn off and go to your friend's house, then you'll find yourself at work. And it's no different getting up in the morning and you'll find yourself reaching for that can of Coke before you've even had two thoughts in your head. So if that's the case, then, an affirmation in the morning about what am I going to do that's going to make me proud of myself today or something like that is a really nice affirmation. How am I going to be the best version of myself today is Joe Dispenza's favourite one, which I really like. And setting that intention for the day, okay, well, I'm going to make healthy food choices today. And I love the 80-20 rule because if we try to do all or nothing, then we'll do all or nothing. So we'll go all, and then we'll end up going nothing. For me, I really like the 80-20 rule. So, I choose my healthy choices 80% of the time. And for 20% of the time, if I go back to the way I was, the food choices the way I was, then I'm 80% of the way there instead of none of the way there. Does that make sense? But I allow myself those treats every now and then because I think it's crazy to do the all or nothing thing. And
yeah, definitely. Yeah, go on.
And then, inevitably you're going to slip up. Okay? When you're creating new patterns, there'll be days when you just don't feel like it. But the key is that you get back on track the next day. Rather than saying, oh my God, today I haven't done any of my intentions, so I'm just going to give up. And I have a 3-year-old little girl, and I love watching her persistence and her determination when she's learning new things. So, for instance, the latest thing that she wants to do when she rides her little bike is she wants to click the helmet together. Put her helmet on and click it up. Now, it can take 7 or 8 minutes for her. She takes it off, she puts it on, the thing gets stuck. Will she let me help her? No, she has to do it herself. And I look at her and I think, wow, adults just don't have the patience and that persistence and determination to be able to create that change and to stick at it, to learn, to get things right. One day we don't do it and we'll just give up. We'll just say, oh, well, forget that. So one of the really key things about sticking to your goals is, in summary, a few things actually about sticking to your goals is, do they connect with your heart? Do you get a really good feeling inside you when you read them? Or is it like you read that and you just go, oh, and you feel really flat when you read it? If you're feeling really flat when you read it, then you need to redo it because it's not inspiring you. So weight loss is a great example. To make healthy choices and lose a lot of weight, that might make you feel fat. But just maybe stick photos in of clothes that you would like to buy when you've lost the pounds that you want to lose. That can be much more inspiring. So whatever it is that you're moving towards that really inspires you, choose that. A lot of people, encourage you to use some pictures cut out from a magazine that invoke a lot of feeling in you. And put them up somewhere. You don't need to look at them every day, but to stick them up somewhere that you can look at regularly. Trust in the universe. Trust that it knows that it's going to be okay, and that the how will come if you're not sure how it's going to happen. Forgive yourself for past mistakes and forgive yourself for current mistakes. So forgive yourself for slipping up every now and then, and the next day get back on track. And very, very, very important is to get yourself a support person. And, for me, that's my coach. My coach is my support person. She's completely non-judgmental. She's holding my hand the whole way. Even when she's not, I'm not talking to her, I know that energetically she believes in me and she's with me, and that is so, so powerful. And that's what I love doing for my clients. So if you don't have anyone supporting around you, with a friend, whatever it is, then consider getting yourself a coach, because, the changes that my clients make and that I personally have made with my own coach far exceed the changes that, those people and myself would have made on our own.
Okay, and this support group can also be an online support group like you have with your group, isn't it? Can you just give us the URL for that again?
Group is called Masters of Manifesting. So if you hop into Facebook and search Masters of Manifesting, then you should be able to find my group that way. My Facebook page is High Performance Club. So if you just search again into Facebook search area, High Performance Club, then you'll be able to find me there for support. And please feel free, in Masters of Manifesting, it is a group. And so anyone can post and everyone else can see everyone else's posts and put up your struggles and put up your successes and inspire others.
Okay, that's a brilliant way to finish, because you said even with the person's struggles, that is inspiring for somebody else too, because possibly they are going through the same thing but have been a bit too withdrawn and shy to share or even discuss that with a group. And from what I gather, that's is a very supportive, non-judgmental group, because I think fundamentally a lot of people are afraid to be criticized. That's why they don't volunteer what's going on in their lives, when in fact, like you say, if they did and they found themselves in an environment that is supportive, it can turn things around very quickly too, like in the case of your client who had the investment property, and the fact that he got his increase in rent just like that, so to speak.
And I've made that Masters of Manifesting group a closed group so that no one from in the public can see the posts. So if you want to join that group, just click Ask to Join and I'll allow you to join. So I've deliberately done that so people don't, all their stuff's not public out there, what they're sharing within the group. So what's in the group stays in the group.
Right, okay. So there is strength in your vulnerabilities, folks. So I hope this has been a very useful hour for everyone out there who's taken notes as well, and become inspired that all is not lost. This may be the last week of January, but all is not lost. You have another 11 months to get your goals accomplished, back on track, whatever it is you want, and maybe even have the courage to ask for what you want, not what somebody else wants for you. And on that note, thank you very much, Stephanie Kakris, for just sharing with us your words of wisdom and inspiration, which I'm sure a lot of people appreciate at this particular time, and have got that sense of determination and persistence to get back on the horse, so to speak, and get cracking. And they can get you at Stephanie at highperformanceclub.com. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay, so drop her a line and share your thoughts and your dreams with her, and I'm sure your dreams will come to fruition. So on that note, your money and your mindset, thank you very much, Stephanie Kakris. God bless.
Today's podcast is brought to you by ObesityHotline.com, the silent killer, providing support and encouragement in the prevention of this rising epidemic. Featuring the Body by Vi Challenge. Is there a quick answer to the question? Go to www.ObesityHotline.com. You're watching and listening to Conscious Evolution Media, shifting global consciousness at ConsciousEvolutionMedia.com.